Hello guys, and welcome to another tutorial. So today I'm going to show you how to make this roll-up scene in Blender. We're going to be using Blender 2.8 free. I'm going to be making the blend file available on my Patreon. That's in the description below, so if you guys want to check that out. And you can also check me out on Instagram. That's also in the description below. So this is an intermediate level tutorial. It's not loopable, and what we're going to be doing is just going through the whole process. I'm going to start from the beginning to the end to a final render, so I won't be skipping anything. So it's a complete tutorial. Please like, subscribe, and check out some other content, and I really do appreciate the support I have been getting. Okay, so go ahead and open up a new scene in Blender, delete all of the default objects. Then we're going to go Shift A. We're going to go to our mesh options here. We're going to add in a circle. Then we're going to go into our edit mode. And in edit mode, we're going to go into our front orthographic view. And we're going to go RX90, and we're going to hit enter. With these vertices all selected, we're going to go E to extrude, and then S to scale. And we're also going to hold in control. And if you hold in control, it's going to snap to the grid. So we're going to snap it once, and then twice, and then 3 times, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then click. So we've just snapped it 8 times to the grid there. So you're going to have this. And then what we're going to do is go Shift Alt. We're going to select these 2 vertices here by clicking on them. This loop, or this edge here. And with those 2 vertices selected, we're going to go Control I to inverse the selection. Then we're going to go X, and we're going to go delete. So now we only have these 2 vertices here in the edit mode. We're then going to hit F3, and we're going to get the screw tool. So just type in screw, click on it, and then you're going to come down here to the Z value. You're going to make it 0, and you're going to hit enter. And the settings here you can go with, I would recommend with the turns, giving it a count of 3, so we're going to give it 3 turns. And with the steps, we're going to bump this up to 32 as well. So just these settings over here. Then what we're going to do is just close this. I'm going to go Shift Alt, click on this outer edge here. That's going to loop select all of these vertices. Then we're going to go Control I. I believe it might be Command I on a Mac. So go Control I to inverse the selection. Then we're going to go X, and we're going to just delete these vertices. So now all we have is this. Okay, so what we're going to do next is tab out of edit mode. We're going to go S.5, and we're going to hit enter. So now it's half its size, so it's just S.5 on our keyboard. We're going to go Control A and apply the scale. Then what we're going to do is select this guy, tab back into edit mode, select this vertice down the bottom, and we're going to go E, X, and we're going to type in 24, and we're going to hit enter. So what we've done, we've extruded this vertice 24 meters along the x-axis here. Then we're going to hit A to select all of these guys here. We're going to go G, Z, and just move them up so they're sitting on the ground floor here. And you can see the little orange pivot point or origin point is sitting down here at the bottom where our cursor is. That's exactly what we want. What we also want to do is just go to Edge Select, select this edge over here. We're going to right click, go to subdivide, and just give this guy, it can be anything. I just go with 7 or something, and then just close that down. So now that has some subdivisions. We can also just come over here and select these 2 vertices and just right click and just give it a subdivision. And if this one, we'll give it a few more just so we don't get any sort of funny deformation over here. So just something like that. We have this guy here. So we're going to tab out of edit mode. Then what we're going to do is give it a subdivision surface modifier just to smooth it out even more. Then we're going to apply that subdivision surface modifier. Then we're going to hit F3, and we're going to type in convert. And we're going to go to convert to, and we're going to go curve from mesh text. So if we tab into edit mode, now we can see this is curve. So tab out of edit mode. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go Shift A. We're going to add in a mesh object. It's going to be a plane. With this plane selected, we're going to go add modifier, add an array modifier. We're going to bump the count here up to 12, like that. And then what we're going to do is come down here and enable merge. That's very important. And then we're going to apply. Now if we tab into edit mode, we have this guy, it's 12 meters long. And with these vertices selected, we're going to right click, we're going to go to subdivide, and we're going to come here to the number of cuts, and we're going to type in 5. And then we're just going to close this and tab out of edit mode. Now what we're going to do is go to our modifiers. We're going to add in a curve modifier. Click on the little eyedropper, and we're going to select this curve over here. So if we grab this curve now and go G, X, and we move it towards here, you're going to see that guy's moving away. So what we're going to do is with this curve selected, we're going to tab into edit mode. And what we're going to do is we're going to come here and enable 3D cursor. And our cursor should be in the world origin, so go Shift S and just go cursor to world origin. Then hit A to select all of these points here, and we're going to go RZ 180 and hit enter. And that's going to rotate it 180 degrees the other way. Tab out of edit mode, and then we're going to go RZ 180 again and hit enter. Okay, so now if we grab this guy and we go GX and we move it towards this, it's going to start rolling that guy up. But what we need to do is just grab this guy over here now and go GX and just move it over here, and you can hold it in control to snap it to the grid as you're moving it. We're just going to move it right over here, so it's just sitting just in front of this guy here. And you can look at the grid spacing here and you can see what I'm going with. So that's just GX, and you can just snap it right over there. So if you guys have followed along with the snapping as I've been doing, you should have the exact same sort of setup as I do. Come over here and let's just change this back to median point. So now if we grab this guy and we go GX, we move it in like this, it's going to roll this guy up, which is exactly what we want. So let's add in a few things here. We're going to select this guy. We're going to go to our modifiers and let's just add a few things on top of it. Let's add a solidify modifier. Bring it into the negatives. That's going to bring it up in our case. So you can make this whatever thickness you want. I wouldn't make it too thick, otherwise we're going to get intersection eventually. But something like negative 0.2 will do for now. Close that up, and then we're going to add in a bevel. Come here to the limit method, make it angle, and then come here to the offset and just decrease that. And if you go into wireframe here, you can see what's happening. We're just giving this guy a bevel. Then come to your segments and just bump that up to 3. And then minimize this, and we're going to add a subdivision surface modifier on top of that. Now if we grab this guy and we go GX, this is going to look really nice. Okay, and also with this guy selected, just go to object and just give it a shade smooth. So yeah, it's as simple as that. We're just going to animate this guy essentially now. So let's quickly do that. Okay, so what we're going to do is grab this curve over here, make sure it is selected. Just come down here to your timeline. You can hover over here and just drag this bar up a little bit. And we're going to make sure this slider is on frame 1. So you can just click it, drag it to frame 1. Or you can just come in here at this start value and just type in, okay, not the start value, this value here. So if you go up, you go down, you can see this guy is moving as well. So make sure it's on frame 1, very important. Then we're going to go I, so hit the I key on your keyboard, and we're going to insert a location key on frame 1. I'm going to drag this slider to frame 90. Once again, you can come here to this box and manually type in 90. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go GX, and we're going to move this guy like this. Just going to keep moving it along the X, just till it comes to the end here, just like that. All right? And then we're going to go I and insert a location key. So this can be relatively rough, so just get it to about that point. Just almost so that, or you can see the little origin point there is almost coming to a stop on the end there. So let's just play that animation and see what it looks like. Okay, and what we also want to do, and this is very important if we want things to be consistent, with that curve still selected, we want to click here and select both of these keyframes so that they should both be yellow. And then we're going to hit T, and we're going to come here to the interpolation method and make it linear. So we're not going to have an easing out and an easing in of our animation. So it's just going to be one linear constant movement like this. Okay, that's really good. So let's quickly go back to frame 1. Let's just do a bit of adding in some objects here. So we're going to go Shift A. We're going to add in a cube. Go to your front orthographic view, and with this cube selected, we're going to go G, holding Control, and we're just going to move it and snap it up to here. So it's just sitting in front of the guy, this dude here, in our 3D space, and we're going to tab into edit mode. We're going to select this vertex, holding and Shift, select the other vertex, and then your front orthographic view, we're just going to go GX, move this guy on the X like that. Come over here, go Control R, hovering over here. It's going to add in a loop cut. Click it once to add it in. Select these two vertices, go to your front view again, just go G and move them into here. And select these two, double G just to slide it down. And what we're going to do is select this loop, Shift Alt and click on it. Then we're going to go Control B and we're just going to bevel this. And if you roll your middle mouse wheel, you can add in some more segments. So we're just going to go something like that. Tab out of edit mode, go to add modifier, and we're going to be adding in a bevel. Come here, make the limit method angle, and just decrease this offset size to something very small, and then bump the segments up quite a bit. Go to object and enable shade smooth. Then in edit mode, if you want to, you can always go A to select all of this, and then S, Y, and just scale along the Y a bit. And also if you wanted to, you can grab this guy and go S, Y in edit mode. You can go S, Y, and just scale along the Y a little bit. If you wanted it to be a little bit wider, that is up to you. Shouldn't mess anything up. Okay, so the goal now is to grab this guy and to go to our front orthographic view. And what we're going to do is we're going to come to this point. So grab this little slider and just drag through it. It might be a little bit different for you. So we're just going to come to where this guy starts lifting. So for me, that's on frame 4. With this guy selected, we're going to go I, and we're going to insert a location key. This one over here. Then we're going to drag through our frames to frame 90, where this guy comes to an end. Then we're going to go G, X, and move this guy along here. So G, X, just move it so it's just barely touching that, and we're going to go I on frame 90 and insert a location key. Very important, select both of these frames and then go T and make it linear. It's going to not work if you don't make it linear. So let's quickly have a look at that. Okay, so if you go to frame 1 and you play the animation. Okay, so what we need to do if you're getting this intersection is select this guy over here, select the keyframe, and if you go the first keyframe, if you go G and you move it forward a bit or back a bit, just move it till it's not intersecting. So let's have a look at that. Okay, a tiny little bit of intersection will be okay because we're going to be looking from this angle. You won't really notice it as long as it just looks believable to your eyes. Okay, that is looking really good. So what we're going to do now is just go Shift A. We're going to add in a plane. We're going to go S and we'll scale this guy up quite big to about here. Okay, so if you go to frame 90 where this all ends, this plane, if you scale it, should just come to an end right at the tip almost of that blade over there. Then we're going to go Control A and apply the scale. Tab into edit mode and go S, Y, and just scale it down on the Y. And then what you're going to do is select this vertex and select this vertex, go Shift D, X, and just extrude it down to here. And then go to your edge select this edge over here, and then go Control B and just bevel that. And once again, you can roll in some more cuts of your middle mouse. So that's just Control B. Just going to give it a nice little bevel like this. Tab out of edit mode, go to object and enable shade smooth. Go to your modifiers. We're going to add a solidify modifier to this. We're going to bring the thickness this way. So we don't want it into the negatives, we want it into the positives, like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go and apply that. On top of that, we're going to add a bevel modifier, and we're going to make it angle. On the limit, the limit method is going to be angle. Come to the offset and just decrease that. And you can go to wireframe if that helps you to see that bevel. So we're just going to go something like that and just bump the segments up quite a bit. Go to object, and we already did make sure it's smooth. Okay. So that's looking really good. So with this guy, what we're going to do is apply the bevel as well. And what else do we have to do? So we're going to go Shift A, go to our measure options, add in a cube, go G, Z, bring this cube just below here, go S, X, and scale along the X like that. And then S, Y, and scale along the Y, about like this. And we're not going to be exact with this at the moment. Let's just add in our camera first. And then we'll edit this to fill in the spaces in our camera. So we're going to come over here with a view like this. We're going to go Shift A, add in a camera. And with that camera selected, we're going to hit 0 to go into our camera view. Then hit G, and then hold in your middle mouse wheel and just pull back to zoom out. We're going to go to about here. Go to your camera settings. We're going to make the type an orthographic. And what we're going to do is go to our cam output settings here and make the Y resolution 1920. We're working with a square aspect ratio, which is really good for stuff like Instagram as well. Go back to your camera settings, and now if you use this orthographic scale, you can zoom in and out. Now this might not be the same depending on where yours is placed, but you can just move it around to zoom in and out. And in your camera view, if your camera selected, you can hit G, and that'll allow you to move your camera. So we're also going to move the camera to something like this. So let's come over here just to frame 1 again and grab this camera, and then you can also double tap R to rotate it in 3D space. And we're also going to use G just to move it. So just double tap R and also hit G just to move it around. And we're going to try and get a view that looks like this. Okay, so this is a little bit of a tricky part to get it exactly like mine, but just experiment, get a camera angle you like. I'm just going to go with this. And with that done, I'm going to grab this guy and go to my right orthographic view, go Shift D, R90 and hit enter. Then go G and just move this guy over to the side. Then go to camera view and have a look and see what that looks like. Okay, so that's positioned where we want it to be. So to fill in this gap at the bottom, we can just grab this guy, tab into edit mode, go to face select, select this bottom face, and then go G, X, and just bring it down quite a bit. So what we're going to do now is grab this guy and grab this guy, go Control J, that's going to join them together, and then go Control A and just make sure to apply the scale. Then we're going to go and give this guy a bevel modifier, and we're just going to make the limit method angle, come to the offset, decrease it a little bit, and then bump these segments up quite a bit, go to object and enable shade smooth. So let's go into camera view and see what that looks like. Now come to your end frame value and make it 150 and hit enter. So now we have an animation 150 frames long. Let's just quickly have a look at this. Okay, that's looking really good. So what we're going to do next is add some physics to all of this, and that's just going to make things look really cool. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is select this guy over here. Then we're going to go to our physics tab here, and we're going to give it a rigid body. We're going to set the type to passive, and we're going to come down here to the mesh and the shape and make it mesh instead of convex hull. That's very important. Come down to the sensitivity, and because this is a larger scale, we're not working with a really small scene, I'm going to bump the meters up here to 0.1 meters instead of the default 0.04 meters. Okay, so just make sure to make it at least 0.1. I think that will work better for the scale of this scene. We're going to do the same thing with this guy over here. Just go to rigid bodies. We're going to make this guy passive as well. Make sure to set the mesh, the shape here to mesh, very important. And once again, under the sensitivity, come to the margin, and we're going to make it 0.1 meters, which works for this scene here. And then with that done, what we're going to do is grab this roll over here. We're going to go also give this a rigid body. And with this guy, we want to come over here and leave it active. We don't want to make it passive. We want to come down to a shape, also make it mesh. That's very important. And under the sensitivity, we're going to leave this guy at 0.04. So we're not going to be making that one 0.1. Okay, so with that done, what we can do is start animating, just adding in some basic keyframes. Now this is really simple, and all that, the reason we're doing this essentially is, so we've come in here, right? And we've animated this curve from frame 1 to frame 80. So that's, this animation is affecting this mesh here, right? So we want it just to be nothing more than an animation up until frame 89, and then on frame 90 it needs to switch to a dynamic simulation. So let's just come over here to frame 90, and on frame 90 with this roll selected, we're going to come down to our rigid body. You're going to see something here called settings, and dynamic is by default enabled. So with that tick there, it should be ticked. We want to hit I hovering over it to insert a keyframe. You can also hit these little tabs next to them, and that'll also insert a keyframe. We also want to make sure that on frame 90, animated is no longer ticked. So by default, it shouldn't be ticked. So click on here, just add a keyframe. So no tick over here and a tick on dynamic, because on frame 90, we want the dynamics to kick in. But what we want to do is go one frame before that on frame 89. And we don't want the dynamics yet because that's still in our animation. So we're going to untick it. And we're going to hit I to insert a keyframe. Once again, you can hit the little tabs here to insert a keyframe. And we want to make sure that animated is ticked, because this is going to be an animation. We don't want it to be dynamic yet. So type, hit the little tick here, and just click on here, give that a keyframe. So essentially on frame 89, what we have is the opposite here, no dynamic, but we have animated. And then on frame 90, we have the opposite, where we have dynamic enabled, but we no longer have our animated enabled. With that done, let's just quickly go here to our settings. Click on this little cone thing here, come down to rigid world, body world, and we want to come down to our cache. Make sure to set the end value here to 150, so we don't have to have it running all the way up to 250, which is unnecessary since we only have 150 frames here. Okay, so let's go to frame 1 and cross our fingers and hope this works. So let's play this animation, and hopefully the dynamics kick in. Okay, we seem to have a little bit of an issue here, so let's just try and solve that. So select the roll here, and just come here to these keyframes here. What might help is if you select the first keyframe, and you go G, and you just move it over one more space. So this 2 on frame 88, and then this one is on frame 90. So let's just quickly give that a shot, see if that might be able to work. Okay. Okay, that's better. So I'm just going to select this guy over here, this thing over here, and I'm going to go to my settings. And let's just check here and make sure animated is also enabled. So just with this plow here selected, make sure that you also tick animated. I forgot about that. Go to frame 1 and let's just play this animation and see what we get. Okay, and there we have it. That is working. It looks beautiful. I hope you guys were able to follow along these little tricky bits here, but that should work. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. And if things aren't working, just try to adjust these margins and these settings a little bit. But if you follow it along, that should be working for you. Now, before we get into our lighting materials, one thing I should note, if you're not going to cache this out, what's going to happen when you eventually render it, it's just going to be the original frame that you have. So you have to cache it out. So let's just go ahead and let's just save a file. I'm just going to go ahead and save my file. And once you've saved the file, what we're going to do is come back, click on this cone here, go down to your rigid world, body world, and we want to make sure now that we have this value at 1 and this end value at 150, we're going to hit the bake button. And what that's going to do, it's going to bake this into our blend file. So later on we can render it without issues. So now we can just go again, just file, just make sure you save it. And now that's baked in. So we don't have to worry about anything. The next part is going to be just getting into our lighting and our materials and making this look really awesome. So I hope you guys were able to follow this bit. I know it's a bit tricky, but yeah, let's get into the rest of the stuff. Okay, so first of all, let's go into our render settings here. We want to make sure that the render engine is set to Eevee. Then come down, enable ambient occlusion, also enable screen space reflections over here. Once we've done that, we can go Shift A, go down to light, and we're going to add in an area light. Then we're going to go G, Z, bring it up in our scene like this. Then go to our light settings. We're going to scale this up to about 8 meters. Then we're going to go S, X, and scale it on the X a little bit. Then we're going to go G, X, and just move it over our scene here. And the strength or the power, we're going to bump up to 3000. We're going to hit enter. And then we're going to go to our right orthographic view, just bring it up a bit more. Shift D to duplicate it, move it over here, and then R to rotate it in. So let's go into our camera view, let's hit Z, and let's go render it. So this is going to be our lighting so far. We can make more lights, but just for now as well, what we're going to do is add in a HDRI. You don't have to do it, but it really makes it look better. I'm going to put a link in the description below to HDRIHaven.com, where you can download 100% free HDRIs. You don't need an account. So what you're going to do once you've downloaded a HDRI file, click on the world settings here, go to the color tab here, click on the little tab next to it, get an environment texture, then you can go open. And then you can go to wherever you have it saved. So I've got some ones here I'm going to use. And then you're going to just add it in. And if it's a little bit too strong, you can come here to the power and make it smaller. So I'm going to make mine 0.4. And here I have some nice lighting. What I'm also going to do is just select one of these lights here. I'm going to go Shift D to duplicate it, move it over here, and then R to rotate it forward a little bit. Just one coming from the front. So if I go into my camera, go rendered, this is going to be the lighting. So that is looking really nice. So what we're going to do is just go into our shading tabs, go into our camera view up here, just make sure we're in rendered. And let's start by adding a material to this roll over here. So I'm going to hit new, I'm going to call it roll, and I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to go with kind of like a pinkish purple theme for this, but you guys can do whatever. So I'm just going to come down here, give it this kind of color, bring that roughness down a bit so we get some more reflections, which is going to pick up that nice environmental lighting from my HDRI. And you can try different kinds of pink. I just kind of went with this sort of nice salmony pink. Then what we're going to do is select this bridge thing that it's sitting on. We're going to go new. And what we're going to do is give this a color. Let's go with a kind of purple like this. Bring the darkness in a little bit, or the value slider, I should say. And we're going to bring the roughness down on that as well. Something like that. And then we'll just call that bridge. And then what we're going to do is select this guy over here. And we're going to hit new. I won't name it anything. I'm just going to come here and give it kind of like a violet purple and make it kind of dark. Almost like that. And then what I'm going to do is tab into edit mode, select this guy over here. Come down to the materials tab, hit the plus, go little plus, go new, assign, and this material is just going to be more of like a dark purple, like that, as you guys can see here. So what we can do is just name them. I suppose we can name the first one wall 1, And the second one we can name wall 2. So with this wall 2 one, what we want to do is we want to achieve just kind of like a bit of a dark purple, like I said. Bring that roughness in a little bit so it picks up some more reflections. And then with this blue one over here, it needs to be kind of more like a dark navy almost, if that makes sense. Try to make it look like that. Almost something like that, and just bring down the reflection on that as well quite a bit. And then what we can do is grab this plow thing over here. I'm just going to call it plow. So that's even how you spell plow, I'm not sure. Anyway, with this, we're going to drag the metallic value up to 1, and we're going to bring this roughness down. And we're going to come here to our base color and just kind of make it like a gold, a little bit darker. Mess around with the roughness if all you want, but I'm just going to go with something like that. And what we can also do, if we just go back to our layout, I forgot to do this. This makes things look a lot better. Let's go back to frame 1. Frame 1, we're just going to go Shift A real quick, add in a cylinder, and then go G, X, move it over here, S, scale it down a bit, go to your front view, then go R90 just to rotate it like this. Then you can just bring it up here. You don't have to do this bit, but I just like it. Go to Object, enable Shade Smooth, and also just give it a edge split modifier. Tab into edit mode, select this face here, go E, S to extrude and scale it, and then go E to extrude it a bit, and then E to extrude it out all the way to here, and then E to extrude it one more time. Tab out of edit mode, and now on frame 1, we can just, with this guy selected, holding in Shift, select this guy here, go Control P, and we're going to set parent to object, and we're going to keep the transform. So now that rod should follow along. And if it's too short, all you have to do is just tab into edit mode and just extrude that face even more. Okay, that should be fine. Just mess around with that. And let's just give it that same plow material. Okay, so let's have a look at that in our rendered view. Okay, I hope you guys have been able to enjoy this. I'm going to show you just in a second how we render this out, but once you're happy with your lighting and materials, which I am for this tutorial, I would usually spend a lot more time on it, but I am making a tutorial, so just keeping things basic. So what I'm going to show you now is how we render this out as a final animation. Now, once again, like I mentioned before, you do have to cache this out or the animation won't work. So what we need to do is click on this output tab here, go down to output settings, click on the little folder, go to your desktop or wherever you want to save it out to. And we want to make the file format an FFmpeg right over here. And then what we want to do is come down to our encoding over here. We want to make the container an MP4peg. And just to save myself a bit of time, I'm going to come up here to my output settings, just come up here. I'm going to make the percentage here and the resolution 70%, so it's not a full 100% of this resolution here. And then what we can do is go to render and render animation. So we're going to hit it and we're going to come back and see what it looks like. Okay, so here it is, guys. This is the final render. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you liked it, please subscribe and hit a like below and share it with people. Show me what you made on Instagram. If you want this blend file, like I said, it's available on my Patreon. I also do exclusive content there, like exclusive tutorials and stuff, and I do share assets, and it's also a great way for you guys to support the channel, and it helps me to make a lot of this awesome stuff for you guys. So that's all in the description below. I'll see you guys next time with another tutorial, and stay safe, guys.